Welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're unpacking the absolutely fascinating, beautiful, and honestly sometimes heartbreaking history of St Marychurch in Devon. You know, it's one of those places folks flock to for a quiet holiday by the sea, but they are entirely unaware of the deep, centuries-old narratives literally right beneath their feet. So today, we're digging up those secrets.
What secrets hide behind Devon's most charming suburb? Well, let's just dive right into it. On the surface, sure, St. Marychurch is a peaceful coastal spot. It's this charming suburb of Torquay with an idyllic pedestrianized precinct. But man, its streets hold an incredible story. We're talking ancient origins from thousands of years ago, rapid industrial booms that changed the landscape forever, and some truly profound wartime resilience in the face of unimaginable tragedy.
To really understand St. Marychurch, we have to go way back in time, long before it was ever a Victorian resort. We've got prehistoric field systems at Walls Hills from 1200 to 800 BC. Then, a Saxon parish was founded between 637 and 690 AD. And by 1086 AD, it's officially recorded in the famous Domesday Book as St Marychurchian. Human activity here is seriously ancient.
So here's the crucial point. The mother church to adjoining parishes. This wasn't just some tiny, insignificant hamlet. Its listing in the Domesday Book and its status as a mother church to the neighboring parishes of Kingscareswell and Coffinswell prove that it was the beating heart of a massive, ancient Saxon estate. Believe it or not, in those early days, it was actually a much bigger deal than Torquay.
And if we look closely at how the town is built today, it's like a giant puzzle where you can see all these different eras just stacked right on top of each other. You've got medieval street layouts formed by the spine of Forest Street and Babbacombe Road, completely overlaid with high-density 19th century worker housing. And that heavily contrasts with these spacious middle-class villas that were specifically designed to soak up those outward sea views.
The Victorian boom. Everything shifted dramatically in the 1800s. For the longest time, there was really little work here beyond farming, fishing, and, well, smuggling. But then came this massive industrial boom. The town transformed into a bustling hub thanks to limestone quarrying at Pettitor, the establishment of the Royal Marble Works, and the Watcombe Terracotta Works. On top of all that industry, you had the rise of fresh air tourism. Victorian tourists were absolutely flocking here because the climate was considered incredibly bracing and health-inducing.
Just listen to this quote from William White's Directory in 1850. He called it a handsome village and picturesque parish with many neat mansions and marine cottages overlooking Babbacombe Bay. That perfectly captures this era of peak prosperity, doesn't it? It paints this picture of a totally idyllic, thriving community right by the sea. Imagine a town growing by 1,000 people every single decade. That sheer influx of wealth completely reshaped the streets we're walking down today. The architectural legacy of that boom is still literally everywhere you look. I mean, the universal use of Victorian stucco, those intricately carved eaves brackets, the classic sash windows. St. Marychurch actually became so prominent that it built its very own magnificent town hall in 1883 and even formed its own urban district council. It wasn't until 1900 that it finally got absorbed by the borough of Torquay. And get this, local legend humorously claims Torquay only took over St. Marychurch just so they could acquire its steamroller, because Torquay didn't even have one of its own. No way, right?
Sunday, May 30th, 1943. A peaceful Rogation Sunday. All of this history, this boom and growth, converged on one defining, deeply tragic moment. It was a beautiful, completely peaceful afternoon. Children were gathering for Sunday school at the parish church. The girls were already inside settling in, and the boys were just playing outside the door. The hit-and-run raid. Meanwhile, right around 2 p.m., German FW-190 fighter bombers departed an airfield in France. Their target was Torquay. To avoid radar detection, they were flying dangerously low, practically skimming just above the waves across the channel. The whole raid was chaotic, but at exactly 2:40 p.m., a pilot named Carl Law, who was flying incredibly low, actually clipped the church spire. His plane dropped a bomb that scored a devastating direct hit right near the high altar, completely obliterating the roof and the walls, while that Sunday school class was still inside. 21. That is the heartbreaking number of children who were killed in the blast inside that church. They died alongside 3 dedicated Sunday school teachers. In total, the raid that day claimed 45 lives across the area and destroyed 50 buildings. But the loss of those 21 children,
It remains the most deeply felt tragedy in the town's entire history. To truly grasp the human reality behind those statistics, we can look at the surviving diary of a 13-year-old victim, Aubrey Harold Brown. He was one of the boys who lost his life that day. He wrote on Thursday, the 8th of April, 1943, "Lovely day. Siren went off from 11 a.m. to 11:30 a.m." His entries from just a few weeks prior casually mention reading a library book, practicing a horn, and then just matter-of-factly noting the air raid sirens. It really shows just how normalized that terrifying threat had become to these kids, right up until the day the sirens were simply too late. 500 tons of rubble moved by hand in absolute silence. In the desperate aftermath of the bombing, rescuers rushed to the church from all over, and they were faced with total devastation. But you know what the most overriding, chilling memory of that day was? The silence. Rescuers moved more than 500 tons of stone, metal, and timber entirely by hand, and they did it in complete, absolute silence, just so they could hear the cries of anyone who might still be trapped alive down below in the rubble.
When we compare the destroyed 1943 church, where the roof and walls were entirely obliterated by the blast, with the rebuilt 1956 church reconstructed by the community, it reveals an absolutely incredible story of rebirth. After a long fundraising campaign, they painstakingly reconstructed their place of worship. But amidst all that destruction, look at the high altar cross. Despite being right at the epicenter of a blast that leveled massive stone walls, that cross hung there, miraculously, completely untouched. As Father Nick Debney so beautifully stated, the cross remained hanging, watching over the church, watching over this community, in defiance of the hatred of war. It wasn't just a relic anymore, you see. That surviving cross became this incredibly powerful symbol of defiance and unyielding hope for a grieving but unbroken community, watching over them through their darkest hour and into a really uplifting era of recovery.
So, what about St Marychurch today? Well, that same resilient spirit is exactly why it isn't just a historical site. It's one of Devon's most vibrant cultural destinations. You've got the famous Babbacombe Model Village with 4 acres of amazing miniatures. There's the Bygones Museum packed with over 2,000 genuine Victorian artifacts. Plus, you have spectacular spots like the Kerry Arms and the Babbacombe Cliff Railway, all just a short walk from a fantastic pedestrianized independent shopping precinct.
It's truly a community that remembers, rebuilds, and thrives. Modern groups, like the Friends of St Marychurch, are out there ensuring the village remains incredibly vibrant. They organize events, support local traders, and build genuine community spirit. But they never, ever forget their past. Recently, for the 80th anniversary of the bombing, over 350 people attended a moving vigil in the rebuilt church, complete with knitted tributes and a half-muffled bell peal, just to ensure those 21 children and their teachers are always remembered.
Are you ready to explore the resilient streets of St Marychurch for yourself? Because knowing the incredible journey of this town, from ancient Bronze Age stones and a booming Victorian industrial center, all the way through profound wartime tragedy and an inspiring modern rebirth, the only question left is, when are you going to walk these historic streets and see it with your own eyes? It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other quiet, unassuming places have we walked right past, totally unaware of the incredible stories buried right beneath our feet? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.